Keith Shannon is on the line with us. He is the roommate of Scott Olsen, the fellow who was deployed. In fact, he was deployed with Scott to Iraq. I should let Keith tell his own story. Keith, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Scott Olsen, of course, the young man who was hit with, I've seen different reports. My understanding is it was a tear gas canister, but some people have said no, it was a rubber bullet. What fractured his skull night before last in Oakland?
We're pretty sure it was a tear gas canister.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's not 100% verified, but that's what we're pretty sure it was.
Okay. And how is he?
He was actually just recently upgraded to fair condition, and they took him off the respirator, and he's breathing on his own. However, they are going to have to go in to relieve the swelling in his brain in the next day or two.
Yikes. So, you mean they're going to have to do brain surgery? Open his skull?
I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do it, but he has a 2-inch fracture in his skull, so I guess that helped relieve some of it, but they're going to have to relieve more pressure, so I'm not sure how they're going to go about doing that.
Wow. Were you there that night?
No, I was not.
And
I was at home that night.
Yeah. Did Scott have an opportunity to share any of the story with you, or has he been largely unkind? I mean, if you're on a respirator, you got tubes down your throat, you can't talk. Has he been?
Well, he was sedated once he got to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
He was walking in, and I don't remember the term the doctors used, but when he got in there, he knew what he wanted to say, but he wasn't able to articulate it. He was only able to answer yes or no questions.
Right.
And he's been sedated. He hasn't been conscious since he was in the hospital.
Yeah, I think that's called aphasia, isn't it? But maybe I'm
something like
maybe
that.
I'm wrong. Yeah, and I'm assuming that there has been an outpouring of support for Scott. Is there a way that, has there been a Facebook page set up or a website or anything where people can send him well wishes and that kind of thing?
I don't know if there's a Facebook page. I have like a Google group set up that for people who want to receive updates on him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the link on that right now. However, people can send like donations to help pay for stuff at ivaw.org. Click on donate and then go to special cases and type in Scott Olsen.
Okay.
And I'll actually look into seeing where they can send well wishes and stuff.
Okay, ivaw.org. That's as in Iraq and
Iraq Veterans Against
the War. Yeah. Okay. Wow, this is just absolutely extraordinary. What's your take on the significance of this? What are your thoughts on the Occupy Wall Street Oakland? And I realize Scott was a member of Occupy Wall Street San Francisco and went over to Oakland when he learned that there was going to be a big action there. What are your thoughts on this?
Like on what exactly happened to Scott or the movement in general?
Both.
Well, I mean, in terms of Scott, I think it's really sad and just terrible that, he can go to 2 tours in Iraq, come back completely uninjured, except for obviously some, mental scarring that's going to be there, and come back uninjured, and then be shot by the very people who are supposed to protect him while he's exercising the rights that he fought for peacefully.
Yeah.
So. And
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
No, you were going to say something else?
Oh, and, in terms of the movement, I think it's going to, be a boost for the participation. It's unfortunate that it takes an event like this to, bring a lot more people and attention to it. But I think you need to be happy that a negative event like this has been turned into a very good publicity for the movement and bringing a lot more people and attention to it and the negativity towards what the police have done and the way the government's trying to contain it.
Right. Keith, you were deployed to Iraq along with Scott. Do I have that right?
That's correct.
As a soldier, or were you a Marine, or what?
Marine.
Okay, as a Marine, who served his country in Iraq, and certainly the pitch for that was, defend your country, stand up for the values of your country, without getting into a debate of the war and George W. Bush or any of that kind of nonsense. But as a person who served your country, I'm curious your thoughts of your personal take, and if you know Scott's, I'd like to hear your if you can relate his thoughts to us of what Occupy Wall Street means relative to what it means to be an American and a patriot.
Right. Well, Scott and I both have been against the war even while we were deployed. Scott's been very active in Iraq Veterans Against the War and Veterans for Peace. And he's been very passionate about the Occupy movement. And he sees it as a way, unlike our tours in Iraq, to really actually make a difference that matters, to really help people that need it instead of tearing apart.
Does Scott have health insurance?
Yes, he does.
Okay. So he's not in a desperate situation right now,
no,
financially, but still, there's got to be a lot of costs associated with this. And if people want to donate to this or participate, they can go to ivaw.org, IraqVeteransAgainstTheWar.org, and click on the donate button, and then click on the special cases, and you'll find Scott Olsen's name there. And Keith Shannon, you're doing good. Scott's got a good friend there. I think all of us would be honored and pleased to have somebody standing up for us in a time of need like this, like you're doing.
Thanks. I'm sure he would do exactly the same thing if it was reversed. So,
I would like to think so. But I salute you and Scott, and please, would you share our very best regards with him?
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, Keith, thanks so much for being with us. Great talking with you today.